Up next for the tool review is a Ryobi P450 cordless belt sander. That's right, cordless. This is the latest in a line of Ryobi jumping into the game in cordless sanders. And as far as I can tell, when it comes to the belt sanders, it's the only game in town. Maybe somebody else has one out there. I've not seen it. If they do, it's a good chance it's out from the same corporation, like maybe a Milwaukee product. But this is also not a cheapo. It's over $100, 119, 129 at Home Depot. It looks like about the same prices online, and the construction basically goes with what they call the upper end of their lithium-ion power tools. However, it is backward compatible to all of the OnePlus batteries. Now, within a minute, let's turn this bad boy on. Basically, we've got a trigger. Now, we can see what's going on with this. It will flatten out the waffle section on this particle board, or OSB we call it, and it uses a lot of power. It's going to go through small batteries in a hurry, so you can use it with a small battery, not going to last very long. So we're going to suggest going with a larger battery. And I'll say this, if you're going with the Ryobi OnePlus power tool system and you get free batteries with some of the tools, that's great. If you're going to buy batteries, you're pretty much only going to buy the P108 larger batteries. Those are the only ones to buy, okay? You'll wait for them to go on sale on the 2-packs. Sometimes there's guys online, eBay, that sort of a thing. They're going to have the larger P108s on sale. That's the only one you're going to buy. A lot of the newer, more deluxe power tools that they have in the OnePlus lineup, that's the battery they're really made to work. So we turn this bad boy back on, and I want you to notice the sound difference and how it cuts onto this waffle board pattern on this OSB. Okay, so you notice it's got a lot more poop to it, a lot more power. The voltage is the same, but the amperage is higher, and that's going to give you more torque with the motor. Now, this is what they call a brushless motor. Brushless motors require a little more oomph in the battery to get things going. So even though the voltage is the same, more torque, more amperage. And you'll see that when I switch batteries, it's wanting to rip the paint right off, it's wanting to flatten this thing right out. When you're talking about the other sanders like this one, you can use either battery with it. And if you want something lightweight, that's okay. You can do this. Another cool feature I found on this is it comes with a little dust bag, right? But the dust bags between the different models are kind of sort of halfway interchangeable. You got to kind of cram that on, bend the plastic bag, but it will go on there. So if you want a large dust bag, small dust bag, you've bought a few different sanders, you can interchange these. The little opening things on here are the same. Other cool stuff, again, because this isn't really the low end. It's a Ryobi tool, but it's over $100, okay? And there's plenty of plug-in sanders that are less money and more powerful. This is going to serve a very specific purpose, but we do have a always on feature, but the button is recessed and a little bit tricky to get into. So we have to pull the trigger, press that button in, and then you pull the trigger again to pull and release the trigger to turn it off. So if you're trying to get this one-handed in a tight spot or something like that, you can. We've got a forward handle on this that kind of interesting. There's a little side button down here, and you can adjust the positioning on this handle. That's kind of nice for two-handed control on this thing. It's not so powerful and lightweight that it's going to get away on you, but it's also, I don't think it's heavy enough to really do serious work on flooring. Where this comes into play is stripping wood, stripping stuff down if you're, let's say, at the top of a ladder, or in a tight situation where you don't want to be wrestling a cord through there. And if you're working at the top of a ladder, I got this specifically for sanding an eave on a house. I don't like working at the top of a ladder. The only thing worse than that is working at the top of a ladder with a power cord hanging below you. Okay, so they can get tangled in your feet going up and down a ladder. It's something we really want to avoid happening. So I'll put out for the requirement for the cordless tool on something like that. And they did go with a lightweight housing. Now, if you're doing flooring, you kind of want a heavier sander. Okay, you want that weight. You want something that's going to help you bear down on it, so you're having to use less muscle bearing down on it. This is going to give you the extra handles so you can lean on it and that sort of a thing. Just remember, that's going to heat up your battery, and it's going to use more torque to do that. So a little back and forth. But part of how they make up for that is it's a 3x18 belt. Now it turns out it's a little bit of an oddball size. Changing the belt, more or less conventional. We pop this thing back. It relieves our belt tension. We can put that on, take that off. We've got tension adjustment on the other side. That's this thing. Best to what I found in using this is set your belt positioning doing this. Okay, now I'm doing this one-handed, but set your belt positioning, because the belt tensioning, I noticed, isn't enough of a thing to really get this to run one way or the other. It's just enough to kind of set it. If you see it start to move, you adjust your belt tension, you go from there. Okay, so that's basically your controls. We got this thing for putting the belts on and off. Again, 3x18 belts. We adjust our belt tensioning with this, which you will do with it running. And then we've got the secondary handle, a little push-in thing so we can reset its positioning. We've got the trigger mechanism. We've got the trigger always on mechanism. We've got something else I kind of noticed about this. You want to wind up the tool before you contact the material. If you are in contact with the material as you pull the trigger, it works, but it works a little better to wind it up and then get into the material. Not necessary, but you're going to get better battery life out of that. The other thing I'm finding is it heats up batteries. Okay, so this isn't a momentary use tool; it's an always-on tool, so it's gonna go through some batteries. Okay, and when it heats up batteries, you got to let them cool before you recharge them. Some of the chargers are automatic on that, some are not. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comment section below. This is available off the shelf at Home Depot. I believe you can also get them on eBay and Amazon. Do I think it's a good tool? Yes and no. I think it's a very expensive solution to a rare problem. I don't think it is necessary for most people, but if you're already running the Ryobi One Plus system, it's a good addition to the arsenal. Just don't expect it to be a job-critical tool more than a few times a year, and don't expect it to be a total replacement for a plug-in. This is something that will supplement things. It would help you do some work off-grid. It helps speed up sanding on jobs that would normally be a cordless tool job, and it's a safety item for situations where you have to carry that tool up a ladder with you. You don't want to be dragging a cord with you when you do that. And you're looking to reduce the amount of time that you're on a ladder, having to do something a little bit awkwardly. It is not something I'm going to recommend for flooring as opposed to a plug-in belt sander. I think the plug-ins, they're not going to be eliminated from your tool arsenal. But in a service truck, yeah, I think it's a good addition to a service truck.